Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable, and we are excited today to have our keynote speaker for day 2 of the event. It's Chris Chesney, the Vice President of Training and Organizational Development at REPAIRIFY. Chris, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thanks, Ted. Happy to be here.
Hey, we're honored to have you, my friend. I've heard so much in the industry about what REPAIRIFY is doing, and I think there's probably no more important topic than what you're going to be discussing with us this morning. So, again, great audience, and we're very, very interested in all the strides that REPAIRIFY is making.
Well, we appreciate the opportunity, Ted.
All right, so Chris, with that, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to turn the show over to you, and the stage is all yours.
Thanks, Ted. It's exciting to be here. Thanks for the opportunity. As we get into March Magic, obviously it's that time of year when everybody gets excited about their favorite sports team, and when it comes to your team at your facility, the team that I'm excited to talk about today is the used car team. Over the last 2 years, our industry has changed significantly, and it's changed in ways that we probably never imagined. Who would have thought we'd run out of computer chips to build the products that we sell on a day-to-day basis? And who imagined that shortage would last as long as it is, or we project it to last? And at the same time, could you have imagined 2 years ago the used car market to be what it is today? Obviously, you're all out there trying to find product to sell, product to put on the lot. And that product that you're bringing in to sell in your used car lot is really a high-priced product today that you're trying to find ways to add value to for your customer. And when it comes to doing that, you need to start treating the used car team and that space in the same way you treat the new car service department. And by that, I mean in the way you prepare them to be ready to service those vehicles when they show up in your reconditioning center or they show up in your shop before you put them on the lot. You see that the used car market has driven prices of used cars to such a high level that it can compress margin if you're not careful, because your acquisition costs are so steep that you tend to want to not invest as much in the reconditioning and preparation of the vehicle for sale than you might have in years past. And that's not really fair to the consumer, because the technology on the cars that you're selling on that lot rival the technology that you're selling on the new car lot. At the end of the day, the technologies on these vehicles is very high quality and high technology. The advanced driver assist systems, the computerized systems that are on board today that really challenge today's technician and service department to be able to serve them in an appropriate manner. So what I want to share with you today is how to prepare your team to be service ready in the used car space. Now, when we talk about service readiness, I'm in my 51st year in this industry. I started out as a Datsun technician, so that should age me quite a bit. I have a Datsun Fairlady Roadster sitting in my garage. It represents the first car I worked on as a dealer tech. But I've spent the last 40 years, 35 to 40 years, in the aftermarket space. And what I see in the aftermarket space is the need to become service ready. And so I need to define that for you real quick. Service readiness is being prepared to properly service and repair a customer or motorist vehicle before they arrive at your facility. You can no longer, as you well know in the new car space, you can no longer wait until that technology shows up in the bay to learn about it, to figure out what tooling was required for it, to understand the service processes and procedures that are needed by that particular technology. You can't wait for that vehicle to show up to be prepared to service it. It's not fair to your customer. It's not fair to your team. And it's difficult to be profitable in that manner. So the OE manufacturers have had service readiness at the top of mind for many, many years. One of my good friends in the industry, Mark Saxenberg, who recently retired from Toyota Motor Sales, shared with me his vision of service readiness about 15 years ago. And as a result, I've kind of become known in the aftermarket space as that service readiness guy. And so we're going to walk our way through service readiness, not necessarily from the factory's perspective, but from the used car lot's perspective. So let's first look at it from the used car space perspective. What is service readiness for the used car team? It's being prepared to properly service and repair those vehicles for all manufacturers before they arrive at your reconditioning facility or the facility you bring them in and prepare them to put on the lot. And that's a bigger challenge than the new car space, because your used car team is challenged to know the things that they need to know, to have the tools and the equipment and the training and the service information and the parts that they need to properly service those vehicles, add value to that product so that you can expand your margin opportunity before you put it on the lot for all the manufacturers that you sell on that lot. So it could be 10x, 20x what your new car team deals with. So how do we deal with that in real life? At the end of the day, service readiness is all about these 6 elements. And I boiled it down to 6 because I wanted to condense the conversation for our discussion today. Obviously, on the new car space, training is provided by the factory. You get your service information from the factory. You get your parts from your parts department. You have technical support there, and you have the tools that you need to be able to service those vehicles as designed. And obviously, you have to have the talent to serve that up. In the used car space, you not only have to have those same things, but you have to have them for all the manufacturers that you're servicing. So when we talk about service readiness, talent is the big elephant in the room. When we talk about the elephant in the room, talent today is the high level topic, the hot topic that everybody talks about. We have a technician shortage. We can't find technicians. Well, 2 years ago, from about now, we're in February, 1st of March, end of March, about 2 years ago, we didn't think about talent so much, except for that we were short headcount. We couldn't find enough bodies to put in our bays to service the vehicles that we had coming through, whether it be in the new car department, the used car department, customer pay group. We just couldn't find enough people. Today, the elephant in the room is still that talent, but I would argue that 2 years ago, it wasn't a headcount problem, it was a skill problem. We had people, we just didn't have the right skills to compress the time that it took from the time the customer arrived at the facility to the time that we finished the vehicle and handed the keys back to them. That time should have been compressed if we had the right skills in the building. But today, we add that headcount issue to that skill shortage. And along with that, in the used car side, we have the challenge of tools and technology. So we have the elephant in the room is your team, your talent, and his little brother is tooling and technology. How do you afford and how do you manage owning the right scan tools and advanced driver assist system calibration systems to handle those vehicles before you put them on the lot? At the same time, you've got to deal with service information. You have OE service information for your new car department, but you have to have access to service information. Well, that's fairly easy to solve. You can solve that by sourcing it through ALLDATA or Mitchell or MotoLogic, the 3 most common service information systems in the industry that serve up OE content, OE service information for all makes and all models. And then you have parts. Obviously, in the new car department, you have your parts counter. But For the vehicles that you don't sell on the new car lot, you've got to have a source for product. Now, that if you're a MSO and you have multiple franchises, you might go next door and get the part there, or you might have to deal with one of the aftermarket suppliers. But you have a challenge there to find the right parts, but you can solve that. That's pretty easy. And then you need technical support and training, and those go hand in hand with the other two items that I want to talk about, and that's that talent issue and the tooling issue. At the end of the day, when it comes to finding that talent and finding the tools and technology to service, it becomes mind-boggling at the number of tools and the number of people you might think you need. You see, if we're short headcount that lacks skill, we need to really focus on giving them those skills and supplying them with that technology or that tooling. And when you look at it on paper and you consider the number of manufacturers that their marks that you put out on the lot, it could be 5, it could be 10, it could be 30. It becomes mind-boggling of how you scale that. How do you really scale that so that you can manage the cost? Well, that's what we want to talk about at the end here is the idea of scaling talent and technology is something new that I think we need to consider in our industry and consider as a way to overcome the headcount shortage for technicians and the need to buy every OE scan tool or factory scan tool for all the vehicles that you serve. And it's not just scan tools, it's service information, it's targets for ADAS calibration, it's all of those things. So when we consider, at the end of the day, how that could come into play, there are companies like REPAIRIFY that provide that capability. Our organization gives you the ability to connect to a vehicle, and our team remotely, we could be 3,000 miles away, can virtually connect a factory scan tool. So if you're a Toyota dealer, a TechStream, if you're a Chrysler, a Stellantis dealer, a YTech, we connect the OE scan tool to your vehicle virtually, and our team guides you through the solution, the coding, the programming, the calibration of that vehicle. So this is new territory. And we believe that that service brings something that's new and unique to the industry, both in the factory new car dealer space as well as the aftermarket. And I'll leave you with this. I think that at the end of the day, with the onslaught of technology that we're seeing on today's vehicles, and it's not going to stop, it's going to accelerate in hockey stick fashion over the next 5 years. And the shortage in talent and the breadth of technology that we need to have in the bays, that not only do we need to consider how we scale these things, but we need, as an industry, to come together. Both the OE new car dealer and the aftermarket. And if you look at it in the mirror, as you consider your used car department, that's an aftermarket business. And so that's the bridge, in my opinion, of how we can bring the factory and the OE together with the aftermarket to serve the one person that funds every one of us every day. And that's the car owner, the motorist, who we all rely on to be a valuable member of our community. So I'll leave you with that. At the end of the day, you can contact me at the numbers that you see below. And you can also visit repairify.com, and you'll see all of our brands and our capabilities. And we'd welcome you to just reach out to me via email. I'll be happy to put you in contact with the right people to answer your questions if it's not me. And I appreciate the opportunity, Ted.
Chris, the things that you are talking about right now, that technology, the ADAS systems, the recalibration, these are so critical to properly making sure that that vehicle is ready. And you're right. I think you've identified from the top the things that we need in order to be able to do that. And to be able to have that for all these manufacturers, all these models for a typical dealer or even a dealer group. Would be very difficult to do. And what Repairify is doing right now in the marketplace is really, something that's, we haven't had to think about it in the distant past. But you know what? This is now, and this is current, and this is actually a great resource for our audience.
Ted, we could talk about this topic for hours and hours. And I will tell you that I just touched on some high points,
Yeah.
but I challenge everybody that's listening to put a plan together to get yourself service ready for the technologies that you're seeing on the new car showroom as well as the used car lot today. Don't wait 3 or 4 years. Now, everybody's saying, oh, the electric vehicle is coming. The electric vehicle is going to change everything. The electric vehicle is not going to scale until at least 2030. So when you consider that, you still have all the rest of the fleet that you need to be able to service. And if you have a collision center or you have a collision center partnership that you need to keep up to speed for your customers who have an accident, and advanced driver assist systems aren't going to cure all accidents. In fact, accidents went up during COVID because people who were driving actually drove faster, and the collision events were held at a higher speed than normal.
Wow.
So the damage was higher.
Wow.
So be prepared, because if you wait 5 years, you're going to be 5 years behind, and your competition will be able to take advantage of that.
And Chris, a large number, certainly not all, but a large number of our audience, our dealers, they do have a collision center that's affiliated or owned by the dealer or by the group. So, is this a resource that I would imagine very much would help there as well?
That's our sweet spot. We can assist in doing your pre-scans, your post-scans, your coding, your programming, calibration of your ADAS systems, all in one ecosystem that we provide to our collision customers.
All right. So tell us again, if I want to reach out to Repairify, to Chris Chesney, how do we get a hold of you again?
Get a hold of me at chris.chesney@repairify.com or visit repairify.com, and you'll find a lot of information there and ways to reach out to the team.
Chris, great resource and information to help us get started today. And again, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And thank you for all you do for the Fixed Ops community. Everyone, Chris Chesney here today from Repairify at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thanks, Dad.